Imagine this scenario. You're home alone on a quiet Tuesday morning. You reach for your glass of water, but it slips from your hand and crashes to the floor. Your left arm feels heavy, then numb. You try to call out for help, but the words won't come. Your face droops on one side. You can see everything, hear everything, but you're trapped inside a body that won't respond. This is the terrifying reality for over 800,000 Americans every single year who experience a stroke when nobody is around to help them. And here's what makes this nightmare even worse. Most people think they know what to do. Take an aspirin, call 911, lie down and wait. But groundbreaking research from the European Heart Journal has revealed something shocking. The actions you take in the first 60 seconds can mean the difference between walking out of the hospital in a week or spending the rest of your life locked inside a paralyzed body. But here's the part that will blow your mind. That pill you've been told is a miracle drug for heart attacks, the one sitting in your medicine cabinet right now, taking it the wrong way during a stroke can actually speed up brain damage and increase your risk of death by 40%. Researchers at Harvard Medical School and Johns Hopkins have discovered that there's one specific action, something you can do in under 60 seconds, that gives you the same survival advantage as having a paramedic standing right next to you when the stroke hits. And it has absolutely nothing to do with aspirin or calling 911 first, before I reveal what that action is. Tell us in the comments now your age and where you're watching from, because what I'm about to share could save your life or the life of someone you love. Here's the hard truth. Most people over 60 believe they know the warning signs of a stroke. They've seen the posters in their doctor's office. They've heard about FAST. But a comprehensive study from the Mayo Clinic revealed something shocking. Nearly 70% of stroke patients over 65 waited more than 3 hours before seeking help. They missed the golden window entirely. And here's what makes this even more dangerous. Research from Johns Hopkins found that 62% of seniors confuse stroke symptoms with heart attack symptoms. They think chest pain means stroke. They think arm numbness always means heart attack. This confusion costs lives every single day because the emergency response for these two conditions is completely different. A stroke happens in your brain when blood flow gets cut off. A heart attack happens in your heart when an artery gets blocked. The treatments are opposite. What saves you from one can kill you with the other. Understanding this difference in the next few minutes could determine whether you survive or not. Now let's get to action number 6. Something that seems almost too simple to matter, but it's saved thousands of lives. Learn the modified FAST test for when you're alone. You've probably heard about FAST: face drooping, arms weak, speech slurred, time to call 911. But here's what nobody tells you. The standard FAST test requires another person to observe you. What happens when you're alone and there's nobody there to check if your face is drooping or your arm is weak? A groundbreaking study from the National Stroke Association found that 38% of stroke victims over 60 are completely alone when symptoms start. They can't see their own face drooping. They don't realize their speech is slurred because they're not talking to anyone. And this delay in recognition costs them precious minutes of treatment time. Every minute without treatment, you lose nearly 2 million brain cells. So here's exactly what you need to do right now, before a stroke ever happens. Go to your bathroom and identify the mirror you use most often. Keep that mirror well lit at all times. When a stroke hits and you're feeling strange, that mirror becomes your diagnostic tool. Stand in front of the mirror and smile as wide as you can. Look for one side of your face, not moving or drooping lower than the other. If you see asymmetry, if one side stays flat while the other rises, that's a stroke sign. Next, raise both arms straight out in front of you and close your eyes for 10 seconds. Open your eyes and check in the mirror. If one arm has drifted downward or you couldn't raise one at all, that's another stroke indicator. Now here's the part most people miss. Test your speech, even when alone. Try saying out loud a simple sentence like, The sky is blue in summer. Record yourself on your phone if possible, or just listen carefully to your own voice. Are you slurring words? Do you sound drunk even though you haven't had alcohol? Can you even form the words you're trying to say? Research from Massachusetts General Hospital tracked 400 stroke patients who lived alone. Those who performed this self-assessment within 5 minutes of symptom onset had a 73% better recovery rate than those who waited for symptoms to worsen before seeking help. That's nearly 3 out of 4 people who avoided permanent disability simply because they checked themselves immediately. But here's the critical twist that could save your life, even if only one of these signs is present. Even if it seems mild, call 911 immediately. The American Stroke Association found that 54% of people dismissed their symptoms as probably nothing because they only had one warning sign. Those people suffered catastrophic brain damage that could have been prevented. Now let's talk about something that happens in the seconds after you realize you're having a stroke. Number 5, execute the unlock and light up protocol immediately. This advice might sound familiar if you have watched our videos on heart attacks, but for a stroke victim, the urgency is completely different. Here is the terrifying reality of a brain attack. Unlike a heart attack, where you might maintain the ability to walk for several minutes despite the pain, a stroke can sever the connection between your brain and your legs instantly. You might feel okay 1 second, and the next, your equilibrium is gone, and you are on the floor. That is why the very second you hang up with 911, or even while you are on speakerphone with them, you must get to your front door and unlock it. Do not worry about security. Do not worry about intruders. Your biggest enemy right now is a locked deadbolt. A study in the Journal of Emergency Medical Services highlighted a forced entry delay that costs an average of 7 to 10 minutes. When paramedics arrive at a locked house, they cannot just kick the door down immediately. They often have to wait for police or fire rescue to assist. In the world of stroke treatment, 10 minutes is equivalent to losing 19 million brain neurons. That delay is often the difference between walking out of the hospital or being wheeled out. If you have a smart lock, unlock it from your phone immediately. If you have a traditional lock, go to it while you still have your balance. If you can, leave the door slightly ajar. Once the lock is disengaged, flip the switch. Turn on your porch light. Turn on every single light in your living room and hallway. Make your house look like a beacon in the darkness. Emergency responders often waste precious minutes driving slowly down a street, trying to read house numbers in the dark. A house that is lit up like a Christmas tree signals to them exactly where the emergency is before they even check the address. For those of you living in apartments, this is even more critical. If you can still speak, tell the 911 dispatcher the gate code immediately. If there is a front desk, call them and tell them to hold the elevator for the paramedics. But what happens after the door is unlocked? Where should you go? Should you lie down on your bed? Should you sit in a chair? Most people instinctively lie flat on their back, thinking it is the best way to rest. But here is what is even more surprising. Lying flat during a stroke might actually increase the pressure inside your skull and accelerate the damage. Let's move to tip number 4, where we discuss the 30-degree rule that neurosurgeons want you to follow. Here is where human instinct often betrays us. When we feel dizzy, weak, or sick, our natural reaction is to lie completely flat on our backs. It feels restful. It feels safe. But during a stroke, lying flat can be a fatal mistake. A critical study published in the Journal of Stroke and Cerebrovascular Diseases analyzed head positioning during the first hours of a stroke. They found that body position drastically changes the pressure inside your skull, known as intracranial pressure, and the amount of oxygen reaching your dying brain cells. Think of your blood flow like water in a garden hose. If you lie completely flat, blood rushes to your head. If you are having a hemorrhagic stroke, where a blood vessel has burst, this extra pressure acts like fuel on a fire, potentially making the bleed worse. However, sitting up straight at 90 degrees is not the answer either. If you sit up too high, your heart has to fight gravity to pump blood up to your brain. Since your brain is already starving for oxygen due to a clot or blockage, making your heart work harder is dangerous. So, what is the solution? Science has identified a Goldilocks zone. It is an elevation of exactly 30 degrees. Here is exactly what you need to do. Gather 2 standard pillows from your bed or couch. Stack them behind your upper back, shoulders, and head. This elevation does 2 critical things simultaneously. First, it uses gravity to gently drain excess fluid and blood away from the brain, reducing dangerous pressure. Second, it keeps your head high enough to prevent choking if you vomit, which happens in about 1/3 of stroke cases, but low enough that your heart can still easily pump oxygen-rich blood to your brain. Do not use a single pillow just for your head, as this can crimp your neck and restrict blood flow in the carotid arteries. You want a gentle slope, supporting your shoulders and neck in a straight line. If you are starting to lose consciousness or feel like you are going to faint, this position is still safe. Just make sure your head is supported so your airway remains open. Once you are in this position, try to stay as still as possible. Do not get up to check the door. You have already unlocked it. Do not get up to get water. Just stay there. But simply lying there is not enough. You need to actively manage the oxygen entering your system. And this brings us to tip number 3, a breathing technique that prevents your body from going into shock. Number 3, master the loosen and breathe technique. This simple action can mean the difference between minor brain damage and catastrophic disability, yet 89% of stroke victims never do it. Here's what's happening inside your body during a stroke. Your brain cells are dying at a rate of nearly 2 million per minute, not per hour, per minute. And the only thing keeping the surviving cells alive is oxygen. Every molecule of oxygen that reaches your brain is fighting to save your memory, your ability to speak, your ability to recognize your own children. But here's the problem. Most people don't realize. Tight clothing around your neck, chest, and waist restricts your breathing by up to 30%. A study from the Stroke Journal found that patients who loosened restrictive clothing within the first 5 minutes had significantly better oxygen saturation levels and reduced brain damage compared to those who didn't. So here's exactly what you need to do. And I'm going to tell you how to do this, even if one side of your body is already paralyzed. First, if you're wearing a tie, collar, or scarf, use your functioning hand to loosen it immediately. Don't try to take it off completely, just loosen it. Pull at the knot with your good hand. If you're wearing a button-up shirt or blouse, unbutton the top 2 or 3 buttons. If your fingers aren't working well, just grab the fabric and pull. It doesn't matter if buttons pop off. Next, loosen your belt or the waistband of your pants. This is critical because tight clothing around your abdomen restricts your diaphragm, the main muscle you use for breathing. If you can't unbuckle your belt with one hand, just pull your stomach in and slide the belt looser on its current hole. Even one notch makes a difference. Now here's what you absolutely must do next. Focus on your breathing. Take slow, deep breaths through your nose if possible. Count to 4 as you breathe in. Hold for 2 seconds. Then breathe out for 4 counts. This controlled breathing maximizes oxygen delivery to your brain. Research from the National Stroke Association shows that patients who maintained steady, deep breathing had 28% less brain tissue death than those who breathed shallowly or panicked. If you're wearing a bra with a tight band, reach back with your good hand and unhook it, or pull it up and away from your ribcage. If you wear dentures and they feel uncomfortable or restrictive, remove them. Anything that interferes with your breathing needs to go. Remember, in this moment, oxygen is the only food your brain can eat. Do not let it starve. But there is one thing you must absolutely never put in your mouth, even though your instincts might tell you otherwise. And this mistake is responsible for thousands of cases of pneumonia in stroke survivors. Let's move to tip number 2, the zero food or water rule. This is the single most common mistake that kills stroke victims, and it's done with the best intentions by people who think they're helping. Here's the terrifying reality. When you have a stroke, the muscles in your throat stop working properly within seconds. You lose your ability to swallow safely. A study from Johns Hopkins tracked 750 stroke patients and found that 65% had swallowing dysfunction in the first hour of their stroke. They don't feel it happening, but their throat simply can't protect their airway anymore. Now, here's what makes this absolutely deadly. If you drink water or eat anything during a stroke, there's a high probability it will go down the wrong pipe into your lungs instead of your stomach. This is called aspiration. And when liquid or food enters your lungs during a stroke, it causes aspiration pneumonia. Research published in the Journal of Stroke shows that aspiration pneumonia kills stroke patients faster than the stroke itself in 23% of cases. Let me be absolutely clear about this. Do not drink water. Do not try to swallow pills, not even aspirin. Do not let anyone give you food or liquid. No matter how much they insist, it will help. Well-meaning family members who give water or honey or lemon juice to stroke victims are accidentally suffocating them from the inside. And here's something that might surprise you. You may have heard about traditional remedies, especially the Chinese practice of pricking the fingertips or earlobes to release blood. Some people swear by this method, but here's what Western medical science says. This practice wastes critical time, creates a risk of infection, and has zero scientific evidence of effectiveness. A comprehensive review by the American Stroke Association found no benefit whatsoever. Every second you spend pricking fingers is a second your brain cells are dying. So what should you do instead? Nothing. Absolutely nothing goes in your mouth. Just call 911 and say the word stroke. Here's why that specific word matters. When emergency dispatchers hear stroke, they activate a specialized response. Depending on your area, they send an ambulance equipped with mobile CT scanners or stroke specialists trained to administer clot-busting drugs. Some regions have stroke ambulances that can start treatment before you even reach the hospital. But here's the critical part. The paramedics cannot give you life-saving medication if you've eaten or drunk anything. They need your stomach empty for the treatments to work safely. By following this zero food and water rule, you're not just preventing aspiration pneumonia, you're keeping yourself eligible for the most advanced stroke treatments available. But once inside that ambulance, there is one final trap you must avoid. It involves a common medication that sits in millions of medicine cabinets right now. Let's move to tip number 1. And the miracle pill you must never touch. Avoid the aspirin trap at all costs. Remember the miracle pill I mentioned at the very beginning of this video? The one that doctors urge you to chew during a heart attack? That pill is aspirin. And while it is a lifesaver for your heart, taking it during a stroke could be the deadliest mistake you ever make. Here is the twist that most people do not understand. A heart attack is almost always caused by a clot blocking blood flow. Aspirin thins the blood and helps break up that clot. But a stroke is different. A stroke can be ischemic, caused by a clot, or hemorrhagic, caused by a bleeding vessel in the brain. Here's the nightmare scenario. You are at home alone. You feel the symptoms. You assume it is a clot. So you chew an aspirin. But if you are actually suffering from a hemorrhagic stroke, a brain bleed, you have just thinned your blood. You have essentially removed your body's ability to clot and stop the bleeding. You are pouring gasoline on a fire inside your own skull. The terrifying reality is that you cannot feel the difference between a clot and a bleed. Even a neurosurgeon cannot tell the difference without a CT scan. That is why you must never, ever take aspirin or any blood thinner when you suspect a stroke unless a 911 dispatcher explicitly tells you to do so. So, if you can't take a pill, what is the single most important thing you can give the doctors? You give them a time. It is called the last known well time. There is a powerful clot-busting drug called TPA that can reverse stroke symptoms and prevent paralysis, but it has a strict expiration date. It can usually only be administered within 3 to 4.5 hours of the first symptom. If you arrive at the hospital and cannot tell the doctors when your symptoms started, they often cannot give you this life-saving drug because the risk of bleeding becomes too high. So, while you are waiting in that 30-degree position, look at a clock. Memorize the exact time you felt that first numbness or confusion. Write it on your arm with a pen if you have to. That timestamp is your ticket to recovery. If you only remember one thing from this entire video, let it be this phrase: time is brain. You are not helpless. You are not a victim waiting for bad luck to strike. By watching this video, you have armed yourself with the knowledge to fight back against one of the biggest killers of our generation. You now have a plan. You know how to test yourself, how to unlock your door, how to position your body, and what to avoid. But knowledge is useless if it is kept a secret. Stroke does not discriminate, and it often strikes when we least expect it. So I have a small favor to ask. Not for me, but for the people you care about. Don't keep this video to yourself. Share it right now with 3 of your closest friends or family members over 60. Send it to your walking group. You might feel like you are just sharing a link, but in reality, you might be handing someone the tool that saves their life next Tuesday. Thank you for investing this time in your health. We want you here, healthy and strong, for a long time to come. Stay safe, stay prepared, and I will see you in the next video.